The relationship in buddies and players and their roles within Top Soccer is what makes the program so special and successful. A Top Soccer buddy is many things to the players, their families, and the coaches. At different times throughout a Top Soccer session, a buddy will be a friend, a protector, a training partner, a role model for positive behavior, a facilitator and mentor, and a liaison to parents, coaches, and their peers. There are roles that a buddy must play for all players and additional roles depending on the disability of the individual athlete that they are working with. When it comes to working with all buddies, a buddy should look out for the safety of their players and those around them, demonstrate the desired skill or activity for the player to follow, encourage their athlete to do their best and celebrate successes with them, reinforce the coaching points that the coach has outlined for each activity, encourage their player to make the best decisions on their own, and provide stability when the environment becomes chaotic. When buddies are working with players with non-physical disabilities, they should also explain activities in 1 to 2 sequences at a time, allow additional time for players to react and respond. Try the 3-breath rule. Wait 3 full breaths on your part when allowing time for a response before asking the question again. Be alert for visual cues of overstimulation, such as hands on their ears or flapping hands. When you recognize these behaviors, consider moving the player to a quieter, calmer place. As you get to know the players better, learn the warning signs of increasing frustration and try to de-escalate the situation before it gets to a full meltdown. Coaches and parents can help you determine what works well for each player. Being calm and removing a player from an area usually works well. Sometimes a player just has a bad day. The reasons may not be clear and often result from something that happened prior to coming to Top Soccer. Please try not to take it personally, as it likely had nothing to do with you. When buddies are working with players with physical disabilities, they should also use their hands, voice, and arms to help guide the players, create a safety zone around the players since their response time might be slower than their peers. Use your body to block and protect when needed. Provide balance and stability when needed. Some players will require 2 buddies or more to provide balance, protection, and engagement. Your role as a buddy in a game environment will depend on whether you are directly assisting a player or if you're being utilized as a player against other Top Soccer players. When you are assisting a player, guide your player into good positions, control the ball for them so they can get touches, block defenders to allow them time and touches on the ball when appropriate. When you're playing against or with athletes, look to play to athletes who haven't had a touch in a while. Encourage fast play on transitions by dribbling into open space. Look to provide assists for Top Soccer athletes. Challenge players appropriately. No easy goals for stronger players. Keep scores close. How we communicate with our athletes is just as important as the information we are sharing with them. Talking with and about players with special needs is one of the more challenging things to learn when becoming a buddy. Whenever possible, try to use person-first language. This means acknowledging the person as an individual first before acknowledging their ability level. A disability is just one part of who they are. If you identify them by their disability first, it unfairly labels them as a victim of their disability and doesn't acknowledge their gifts properly. Try using first and then sequencing. This is especially helpful with players that have cognitive delays where too many instructions may be overwhelming. Focus on one thing until they have it down pat, and then introduce another step when appropriate. Most of our players understand direction and conversation better than they may appear to. Speak directly, but not in a condescending baby talk way to them. Encourage them to persevere on challenging tasks and celebrate success when warranted. Not everything is high five and fist bump worthy. These are rewards that should be not given away too freely. Our players love when you are expressive and enthusiastic. Be corny and goofy with them. They will respond in kind and have more fun as a result. Being patient is really important. Give them time to process your questions. Try using the 3-breath rule we discussed earlier. Most of our kids will know if you are dialing it in or are frustrated with them by your body language. If you appear positive and upbeat, our players will give you more effort. As we discussed in the previous slide, choosing your words will frame how a person is thought of. Here are some examples of commonly used words that have some better alternatives that we suggest you start using. Using the terms handicapped, disabled, and afflicted by invokes a victim mindset. Acknowledge the person first, then the fact that they just happen to have a disability. Normal. What exactly is normal anyways? If we choose the words neurotypical and able-bodied, it speaks more to the typical range of ability levels in a way that most people can visualize without the negative connotations of being different. Using the words blind and deaf may be a little too general unless they are appropriate for that individual. If the player only has partial loss of sight or hearing, then it would be more appropriate to use the terms visually impaired or hard of hearing. Retarded, the R word. While this word may have been an accepted medical term in the past, the negative stereotype that is now associated with it has prompted its elimination from several dictionaries. We find the term hurtful and dehumanizing. We encourage the words developmentally delayed or Down syndrome where appropriate. We ask that you not tolerate the use of this word and discourage others from using it. Your players, buddies, and parents are listening to the words you choose. Choose appropriate, respectful terms that are accurate as often as possible. We recognize that you are human and may make some mistakes along the way. Acknowledge your mistakes when they happen, learn from them, and strive to do better next time. In the last section of this course, we will give you some additional suggestions and some final thoughts on how to be a successful top soccer buddy.